Hello, everybody here in the audience and also you watching these streams. And welcome to this breakfast meeting regarding 5G and how we can use that in production in broadcast. My name is Christian Bruarøy. I'm project manager for an initiative called the Nordic 5G Consortium, which is established among broadcasters here in the Nordics. And 5G, using that in production, is very high on the agenda now. This month and this week, also next week, there will be network meetings where this will be debated quite on a high level scale now. And we will also see a lot of field tests this month, and we will hear more about them. Our main focus here at the consortium is production technologies, but it's important to know that 5G also has a focus on distribution technologies. So 5G is have this kind of duality, or maybe more as well, that the multiple usage of it. But we focus mostly on the production technologies, and we are so lucky to have with us Morten Brandstrup from TV2 Denmark, who is going to present more about how we can utilize it directly into the production. So we will hear more about that in a few minutes. Today, we will also hear more about what our consortium members are coming up to in the coming month. I just will go briefly through that. I asked Birger Henriksen at TV2, he's in the audience here, if he could summarize what was the biggest product news at the NAB when it came to 5G and production equipment. And if that could be summarized today, he said it would be difficult to fill 10 minutes because there's not much production technologies or product news out there yet. The buzz is there, but because of chip situation and other situation, it's not fully there in the market. But we know that more will come. But you mentioned, Birger, that one buzzword that was out there is on the distribution side, and in that it's more around the 5G broadcast and multicast, how you can utilize that into how you distribute your content. So perhaps that will be a future something we should bring up in the coming months to hear more about. But this slide is taken from Road Slots, so they are one of those who can be followed. The coming weeks, a lot will happen. SVT, which is one of the consortium members, they will do their first big test now in using 5G cameras. They will, in Linköping, a city in Sweden, they will gather a lot of different sports and have their Swedish championship called SM-veckan, where a lot of production will take place. And this is the first time SVT will put 5G linked cameras into their production. So that will be very interesting to see how it works. And as the desired outcome is to have a seamless integration. So to use both wired cameras and also 5G. A little bit how they are working is that they have teamed up with Telenor that have given them a special access to their network, and where they have these special SIM cards that enables all the functionality that's needed. And with this, SVT will have full control. It will be fully private, so it's an opportunity for them to test this quite good. Another member at the consortium who is doing much, it's NRK, who will jump into their, what they call it, their fourth trial. And they will also do a Norwegian championship, the coming, quite similar to what we see in Linköping in Sweden, where they will, what they call is the 5G production in urban area. So how is it to produce using 5Gs with buildings and all these kind of things around? And what you see here on the right side is from one of their other trials that they're doing in the project called 5G Fudge, and where they, as you see, that was on the winter side. So it's a lot going on at NRK as well. NRK will, they don't only have one objective; they have several, and they trial while they are going. So it's by using 3 5G cameras. They will experiment on different bands and also work with how to improve the communication inside the production. We as a consortium, we discuss quite many different things at the moment. And as Erik Woll at NRK said, the need to find more rugged and portable equipment is a big need at the moment. So that is, if you're going to do more of the 5G production, that is one of those things that is there. Of course, the shortage in the chip market is a challenge there at the moment. Paul Nygren, who is a member from Sveriges Radio, he said that they will focus more on how to do it in audio production and how to secure the low latency is one of the things that he really wants to see happen, and to make this robust as well. He also mentioned that we'll not jump into the details here, but how you can use the network slicing in 5G. Where business models and regulation is still a challenge. So that is one of those things that we'll be working with. And as we see, to do all the testing, all this kind of thing, we have access to frequencies now. NRK are doing their job together with, or their test together with the Norwegian defense, and where they can borrow some of their frequencies to do the testing. And to have those kind of what we call the framework conditions, that there are frequency allocations, that is a debate going on, and we had that on our last breakfast meeting just before the last autumn. And we think that the enterprise solutions need to be delivered from the telcos, that we hope that they can be more accessible, and then we will also see more product news. So it's a lot of players going on, and one of the things that I want to mention is that our consortium, we will very much welcome partners and people to talk with us. So we will very much, this is a membership union, and we would like to see if there are partners that can be linked on in a way. The broadcasters, they have their needs. They will willing to share. We will really much build and test new products. We would like to do research. And there are research projects going on where our members are involved. And we will gladly test new business models. And as today, we are building a network meeting like this. And more network meetings will come during this fall. So if we can work more together, we will really much hear from typical telcos, vendors of technology, other partners that find their interest in this space where a lot will happen. And one of those things that will happen is that Morten Brandstrup, I hope he's with us now, Morten, he is the head of news technology at TV2 Denmark. He's back home at the moment. Hello, Morten.
Hello, and good morning, everybody.
Good morning, good morning. You're about to, you're hosting a big event today, isn't it so? So we're glad to have you with us on video link.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and Morten, you will come to Bergen next week, by the way, to be here at the VBU meeting, where also 5G is as one of the subjects. So it's a lot going on. Morten, he will drag us through some of those kind of possibilities that 5G gives us now, give us introductions, and he will also tell more about how a big EU-funded research program called 5G Records, which TV2 Denmark is a part of. So the show is yours, Morten.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for being here. It's a pleasure, and it's especially, talking about something you are passionate about is always a big pleasure. I'm from as I'm head of news technology, and that means I'm in the news department. I'm coming from production, like probably a lot of you. So I'm not a researcher. I'm not an engineer in that sense. I'm really I'm enthusiastic and involved in all this 5G because I have a feeling and understanding that this will really have the potential to bring us further with our production. And that's what we are aiming for. So where will this 5G actually hit us as media industry and content creator? Well, I've listed up here the four main area. One thing is the private network, and it's really important to distinguish between what is private network and what is the public network, because the next one, as the public mobile network, is probably what we all have heard about. It's also where we have seen that our mobile maybe now have a 5G letter in the upper corner, and that's for the telco very much about basically just produce more data, having more capacity, and the distinguish between that and the private network, or it's also called the standalone non-public network, is that, well, the standalone non-public network is a network, 5G network, that we have the full control of and that we potentially also operate, but it could be service. So there's this huge difference between those two services, and that's also why you should be always aware, what are we talking about, what kind of 5G? But it will have an impact both that we now will have a wireless technology that we can control, and by the way, the 5G in public will also be interesting for us as media company. There's this topic about the broadcast, the one-to-many, which is not what we're talking about today, but definitely something that we also have to look further into. And then there's all what I would say what the public will receive and get from the 5G, and I mean that's where you should look into the new experience that we can expect. It's probably in the area of AR, VR, something like that, and it's important to understand that the better we get connected, the less latency, the more computing closer to the device where we're receiving it, will change what we as media company have to produce of content. Think of it like a Snapchat or TikTok, stuff that you would never have seen if it wasn't because it was connected. When we got the mobile, the iPhone, because there have been other trying to do the same, it wasn't until it was connected, it really was that new device. Until then, it was just, basically a shitty hand computer. But it's because it's getting connected, we get all these services. You couldn't think about Snapchat or Instagram if it wasn't that the camera, the whole device was connected. If that have to be wired or being always a Wi-Fi, it would be another media. And I'm pretty sure that we should look into some of the stuff, the rumor about what will the Apple be next, and the glasses seems to be the next topic that we probably will see in the next week or two. And again, it's platform that where we will really see a difference. In US, some of the big sports companies have really stated hard on the 5G that this is really something that they expect will change the audience experience, both on the screen but also in the real world. And if we look into some of the stuff that some of our colleagues from BTE have done, here's a video showing a few clips on what you could expect, what is possible when you get edge computing, when you get low latency network, when the high throughput, you would have an immersive experience. Let's see the video here.
Here we are at StoneX, the home of Saracens, and behind me you see our volumetric video capture rig, which basically captures people in real time and enables to digitally transport them over to a different location, say your home, so you can watch a holographic view of the live action that's playing out at a sporting event like boxing. So what we're trying to do is really enhance the BT Sports standard production feed that you normally see on your TV. Using volumetric video, we can create a holographic view of the boxes, which means that you can stop, you can replay, you can rewind, and you can look at them from every angle. So it's not normal video, which is 2D, we're actually capturing 3D video, so the 3D essence of that person, and we can transport them over to a different location, your home, and give you flexibility for how you actually view it and how you consume that content.
This is an augmented stadium experience for spectators in the stadium, and we're trying to put some of the sort of augmented kind of insights into the game that you see on TV into the hands of people live in the stadiums. We need to know very accurately where the pitch is and the most important things that are happening on the pitch. And obviously the ball is the most important thing on the pitch, so we're working with Sportable with their Gilbert tracked ball. So we know very accurately where that is, and we get that live in real time. And the next thing we need to do is match that up with where you're effectively looking, where you're pointing your device. So we take those two aspects into our Edge XR system, and we basically generate a video layer that's sent back to your phone to go over your live camera view to show you those augmented graphics perfectly lined up.
The experiences we're looking at today rely on the speed and low latency of 5G. Combined with that, we're now looking at how we can use multi-axis edge computing to take some of that massive processor-intensive volumetric rendering and be able to take that away from the devices. So really, we're able to create experiences that you've just never seen before. Essentially, we can have augmented realities. You can find your seat, you can find information of the players and tracking the balls. And with the multiple camera angles, every seat is the best seat in the house.
So as you can see, the 5G is so much more than just a high speed. It was very early by European Commission identified as one of the core and very important technologies. And from this framework and description of several verticals, media and entertainment is one out of 8. And you see that things like the low latency and the reliability is very important key issues and features that we should expect from the 5G network. And that's fit very much, that's elegant into our production environment. So in a production setup, in content of production, 5G is probably one of these technology that when we are moving from the traditional SDI to IP, we need some kind of wireless technology that could extend our IP connection. And you couldn't think of anything better than the 5G, because that definitely as it defined as all these things that we would like to see in a professional environment, in a professional IP environment. So that's why 5G is important for us in production. So you can ask, shouldn't we just leave it to all the telcos to deal with this? Why is it important that we step up on this? Well, there's a couple of issues that we have to be aware of. There's this about that the selling point for telcos so far have really been this, best effort things, and that means, well, we get high speed and so on. But is that important for us in media industry that you now can have 1 gigabit download to a device? I mean, who give So it's probably more important to look into this standalone non-public network or quality of services that is possible to add to a commercial service. We also have to be aware when we are talking about the public network that there's a distinction between the TDD and FDD. That means that the way that the network is configured, when we see the high speed, 1 gigabit download and so on, that's cool. But the reality is that the public network have to be synchronized with all other network, and they also have to agree on how the TDD pattern is made, and that means that all commercial network, they have more download capacity than upload. And the problem is that we as content producer, content creator, we are the one who upload stuff. So I mean, a standard public network isn't that interesting for us, and it's definitely not when we're talking about professional services. Is it then possible to change it? Yes, it is. This is some figure from our colleague from BBC's R&D lab, and as you can see, you can, if you have the control of the network and you're not forced into the TDD pattern given as a regulatory, it's possible to totally change the behavior of the network, and that's really important. And that's one of the things that we try to do in this 5G records project. We have the pleasure to be part of this EU-funded project, which is a part of this Horizon 2020. And as you can see here, there's some key technology that we are investigating and dipping our toe into. It's of course all about it's a non-public network. We look into the slicing, the edge computing, which is part of the framework for the 5G, the whole orchestration and control of the network. This project have now been running for 1.5 years. And it's a quite, this is a good consortium with the two major telco technology provider, Ericsson and Nokia, as part of this consortium, together with Kumiko and other good technology provider. And as broadcasters, we work together with with BBC, with Y, and EBU. So that's where we are our spot in this. And at 5G record is 3 user cases. The first one is about the live audio production. That means the handheld microphone, the in-ear system, and then there's a mobile camera, as the multi-camera, user case 2. I will get back to that. That's the one I'm involved in. And then there's live immersive media production. So it's 3 different user cases. If you look into the live audio production, the challenge is that, try to do a wireless microphone, not only one, but several, as we're used to on the stage, and the in-ear system. So if we now replace that with 5G technology, that's doable, because our colleague is really close at getting all this up and running. But the real challenge here is that we are talking as an ultra low latency, because you have less than 4 milliseconds from mouth to ear, and that's including all kind of processing. So you have to drive your 5G network around 1 to 1.5 milliseconds to actually achieve useful audio services. And they are getting there. They're really close of this. Then there's a live immersive, where we are talking about having a multiple camera on a venue, and being able to process this and feed it back to the audience so they can have a 360 experience on this, but also process it and have it outside of an end user. It's also about the distribution part. And then there's the multi-camera production, and that's where we are focusing. It's about having multiple wireless camera, basically as we are used to today. And so it's in as a high-end production. So this includes having the devices, the encoding. It's a control of the RAN, the radio network, and then we have the media orchestration gateway, and also the media gateway itself, which interface into the 2110. So we've chosen that as as a standard, so we have to do a 2110 production. The element here is camera, the whole device thing. It's the radio layer part of it, and then there's the gateway, and finally there's a production, and we have 2 different user cases where we also add as a public 5G service into this, but have the 2110 as a virtual remote production. So we also have to deal with stuff like the master control room. The key figures here, and what I have to point out is that this is the aim here is to have a sub 100 milliseconds latency glass to glass. That's important because otherwise it won't be possible to cut between a wired camera and a wireless. And I mean, today we with the standard wireless technology, we are talking sub 50 milliseconds. So why should 5G be less than that? It's the high-end quality is a 1080p, 50 frames, and it's lens up against the 2110. It's important also here that our aim is having the PTP, so as a synchronization, time synchronization in the network, and all this on a single 5G modem. So I'm stressing out this because you have to understand this. This is not about bundled cellular technology. This is like you will expect it to be from a wireless camera setup. And this is basically the explanation of what we're trying to achieve. Because when you have a steady cam, the camera that we love and like for both event, for on the stage, for music or entertainment and so on, you think of it as, well, that's a cameraman and that's a camera, and you need the video code to go back to the control room, wherever that is. But the reality is that there's a lot of other signals going back and forth between the gallery and the operator. And we can actually count up to nearly 10 different signals that have to be wireless with this rig if it should be full function. Think about just a small tally or the control of the camera, the shading, the communication, return feeds, maybe several return feeds, you might have a teleprompter and so on. And as today, this will mean that we rig the Steadicam with several transmitter and receiver on the body of the camera, and using all kind of spectrum from 400 megahertz and up to 5 gigahertz in all kind of services. And well, it could potential everything here be IP, and thereby having as a one pipe a more a better usage of this spectrum, because sometimes we establish this with using a radio system just to switch on the tally. Why should we do that? So this should all be one IP stream and lend up again what we have in the whole premise or production setup that we are running. So this is the aim. This is what we're aiming for this technology, and you should think of it as the tier one. So it's working together with the high-end equipment and having compression and latency, so you can actually use it with a studio and OB setup. And of course, the latency is the biggest topic right now. That's where we have started. This is from the Aachen test lab in the Ericsson 5G test lab, where we are testing the latency and the response when we're talking control. And this really shows us that we, control-wise, can work, as we can have less than 10 milliseconds. And with the less than 10 milliseconds, you cannot really feel the difference from a wire to a wireless connection. So that was one of the good days in the lab. The last couple of lab tests have been about the video encoding and decoding. So this is the test setup where we are testing and measuring latency between different set of the encoder and decoder from the end to end with the control of the network. And here we really need to be be able to very precise measure the real latency. And we are slowly getting there. One of the things that we also had to do from the very early was doing the reference video, because you need this as a Steadicam, and the way that you operational work, you cannot use the standard test video sequences, because they have a lot of normally they are not that long sequence, and when you have the Steadicam, you need long shots, because that's how a handheld camera or a Steadicam works in production environment. And one of the challenges that we're facing is this, a camera is not just one unit. It consists of a rig consists of all, not all, but some of these components that you want to control remotely, wirelessly. And that's where it gets challenged, because it's not a single brands. It's several brands brought together on the rack. And it also opened up for the discussion, should each of them have their own 5G device, or should there be some kind of router on the camera unit, which is then give out IP addresses to each and every device connected to this camera. There's no answer right now, I have to say, because that's where we're talking end product. But it is one of the challenges. We're also talking to the IP, to the industry and to the vendors in the industry. One of the things that we very early recognized and have worked on is the operation, the control layer, because it's not only about controlling the device, the camera. It could be the PTZ, it could be the iris or the shading of the camera, but you also need to orchestrate and controlling the 5G network. So you have something here that you can, that relate to the service you expect. And here it's important, because sometimes you need to have, you need to discover your camera several hours before you actually start the show, before you start streaming. So you need to bring your device into the network, configure it, and having this whole control of it. And therefore, it was important to make a control gateway, but also, of course, the media orchestration as well. So both control and the media, the video material, and so on. And we have here in this project linked us up again the MQTT. So it's basically a kind of industry standard format that we use to control everything in, and thereby having a framework where we could easily attach everything from robots to moving light and so on into the same setup in a production. The other thing is the timing, the synchronization. And by default in this release that most network is running, release 15, PTP is not a part of that, and therefore we still is suffering from not having the right the possibility to have a PTP from the production center running into the network and giving that as handing that PTP to the camera or device in the other end. There will be later releases and other work in EBU and so on have both especially the release 16, which is coming slowly here in this autumn, but also release 17 from 3 PPV will be a Pro AV, and there you will have, as you will see, the timing being part of it. So we see this is a framework we have tried to illustrate how we are going from having just a standard SDI camera and no real control of the network in release 15, and then the camera involved into this native IP camera that we now can see. We saw some of them released at NAB, and we will definitely see more coming. And you also see in the right corner, when we get to release 17, we have the full control of the network, and by that we can have the full IP, the timestamp, and so on. So this is important stuff. So where are we at the moment? Well, we have done a lot of stuff in the lab, and and trying to get all these components up and running. We will now, in late June here, 3 weeks from now, we will have a multi-camera production running in Tivoli. That's part of the whole lead into the Tour de France, which take off here in Copenhagen the 1st of July. So the consortium will actually, for the first time, be face-to-face meeting here in Copenhagen, and we will then host a 3-camera wireless production with a private network. So we will establish as an NPN, but still release 15, and then let the material from that production be distributed via a cloud MCR, and then shared between the broadcaster, and being able to exchange the control of that network. And to top that up, we're actually doing a live broadcast here in Copenhagen. So just to complicate everything a little more further, we will have the 5G production running into spin up a channel and being broadcasted live. That is done together with our colleague from Danish Radio. So TV2 and Danish Radio work together with this, together with CPCom. That could be very cool setup. So for the first time, there will be this 5G production into 5G broadcast. And well, the whole industry is not the whole, but a lot of people are looking into this, especially when you're working with the wireless technology. Whistling have been pushing this at the moment together with Strathclyde. So Strathclyde, the University of Glasgow, deliver the 5G network, and Whistling are using their wireless encoder to connect to this network. And there have been a couple of production running on this. And in BCom in France is another it's innovation hub. In France, they work together with the Olympic Broadcast Service, and here's some pictures from the end of last year, where we were in Rennes and testing out some of the equipment that was used for the Olympic Broadcast Service in Beijing, where 5 user case was 5-camera production setup was using a private network provided by the Chinese telco. As part of the production in Beijing. So stuff is going on, and we also now can see that some of the cloud providers is getting there. That's really interesting. In the US, Amazon is now offering the ability to buy your own private network, and they deliver everything from the radio system to the connectivity. And the interesting is that part of the 5G technology is edge computing. And where is the edge actually? Is that on the RAN side? Is it on the radio part? Or is it in the cloud a few milliseconds from the radio? And I think that's where Amazon is looking into now. And it's just interesting that the cloud provider is actually expecting to deliver that kind of services to us. And that really have a huge potential also for what we can see in the future.
Today, growing enterprises are looking to augment
so
existing
they're not there
on-premises
yet
Wi-Fi
in
networks.
Europe, I have to say. They are other stuff because of the frequency and the chipsets stuff as well, they say. One other project, just to sum up before we finish here, is QSSLA. We are doing some stuff with one of the telco here in Denmark, and have actually extended our production network into their network. You know, when you are looking to big gathering like the Royal celebration, it's always a challenge to have using the wireless technology, and especially also using the mobile network. And it's, you can do a lot of great stuff around an event like that, but in the core scene of it, you have to establish your own network. And that was what we tried to do different with the Queen's birthday this year. We have extended the TV2 production network into the RAN network of the TDC, and that means that we have the full control of the network, and are bypassing all kind of internet and so on. So it's really an end-to-end controlled network, and that really have a huge potential. We have also done some testing to see how that kind of that stream compared to what we normally do on wireless camera. This is setup we did in Danish Parliament, where our Prime Minister is leaving her office, and we normally do this instead again with wireless technology. How if we replace this with a public network, and this is public network, so this is not a network that we was in control of. We are giving some services, but I have to say you're not really in control. But it really showed that you can do it. Still, the latency here is too high, so it's not really comparable to high-end production. And that's really what is important again. It's that we can cut between the stuff. And I can see the time is running, so I will just jump quickly over some of the other stuff that we do with the drone. We've been partnering in this project where we is able to run and control the drone, and the potential of this is that in 2026 we will actually be able to deploy and control drones remotely. So that's where the 5G technology is pushing us, that we will have this ability to all the regional stations to have a drone and having a secure network to get the material back to us. But more to come about this stuff. And that was all from me.
Thank you so much, Morten. I'm not sure if you hear the applause here, but so good. Is there anyone who have questions for Morten? We have some minutes for him. And if it's just give me a sign. Else, you are now into a week or a month of testing yourself, live testing, you can call it. What's your main objective for you to look at now? I think there are several, but what are the main ones?
Well, if you look at it in Danish perspective, it's, and I think that's common to most Nordic countries, it's really that we need to get access to the spectrum, and ensure that we have equal access to a spectrum that we can. It's so easy for the politicians to sell the spectrum to the telcos and earn a lot of money, but we really need also to have access to spectrum.
And are you doing some kind of work together with the telcos now to find a bridge, or say for instance when you're doing the Tour de France now?
So we're working with all. We have 4 mobile network in Denmark, and we are working with each of them to form what kind of the professional services, because we don't expect in the future to be the one who should operate much of this mobile network. I mean, we are broadcaster, we are content creator. Why should we bother with all this telco technology? I probably already know too much about it, and for sure you as colleagues should go into that direction. We need them to provide us with the technology that equal despite of its public network or it's a private standalone services.
And you mentioned that there are production equipment 5G enabled that is coming, or IP enabled as you called it. What are the timeline you think, or what is the signal you have got so far?
So we have been testing together with EBU several vendors stuff, and some should have been presented at NAB, but the lack of chipset didn't make it possible. So we have seen that all the camera window is in that game at the moment. So you can, as we are talking by EBU to all the vendors, and I'm really convinced we'll see something on IBC as a real products that you can buy. We also see that some of the bundled cellular provider is actually dipping their toe into providing this low latency stuff, sub 100 milliseconds.
And my final question: you showed us that red box, what you can the red 5G box. I think there are several use cases you showed there. But what kind of features can be combined at an early stage, do you think? What could be the smallest 5G box that will pop up?
Yeah, but we already have a box which will distribute some IP addresses, so you will have it on board device being able to control the PDZ, simple stuff as a simple manual stuff on the camera.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Morten. This was very insightful, and we hope you will have a good event back at your hosting in Copenhagen today. And you're so much welcome to Bergen next week, and to have the chat with the other guys that is on board in the consortium. So thank you so much, and to all of you who came here and everybody who are on the stream, thank you so much for today's meeting, and reach out if you are interested in 5G and so on. Thank you so much, Morten.
Tack alle sammen.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.